Welcome back to Smiles and Scars, the channel where we share unforgettable stories about life's hardest lessons, moments of courage, and the scars that shape who we are. Some stories will make you laugh, some will bring you close to tears, but all of them will leave you thinking long after they end. Tonight's story is about arrogance, respect, and the dangerous mistake of underestimating the wrong man. This is the story of a group of bikers who thought they could bully Chuck Norris in a bar, never realizing that Seagal was about to walk through the door. It was late evening in a small roadside bar tucked away on the edge of town, the kind of place that smelled like old leather, whiskey, and cigarette smoke. A neon sign flickered against the window, and the jukebox played a tune so faint it seemed half asleep. Inside, locals nursed their drinks quietly, minding their own business. At a corner table sat a man with a calm presence, a man who seemed both ordinary and extraordinary at the same time. That man was Chuck Norris. Chuck had stopped in for nothing more than a quiet drink and maybe a warm meal. Dressed simply in jeans and a buttoned shirt, he looked like any other traveler passing through. Most of the people in the bar didn't notice him at first. He liked it that way. Chuck had lived his life in the spotlight, but he cherished moments of anonymity. Here, he was just another man, not the legend, not the martial artist, not the actor, just Chuck. But peace rarely lasts long when arrogance walks into the room. The door swung open, and the heavy footsteps of bikers filled the silence. A group of 6 men in leather jackets stormed inside, their laughter loud, their presence loud enough to shift the air. They were the kind of men who thrived on dominance, on making others feel small so they could feel big. Their leader, a thick, scar-faced man named Viper, carried himself like a king in his kingdom. He wasn't just walking into a bar. He was walking into his territory. They sat at the counter first, ordering loudly, pushing aside anyone in their way. Then the sneering eyes of Viper caught sight of Chuck sitting alone at his corner table, quiet, calm, unbothered. That calmness irritated Viper more than anything. He wanted attention, fear, submission. Chuck gave him none of that. "Hey, old man," Viper called across the bar, his voice dripping with challenge. "What are you doing sitting there all by yourself? You lost." Chuck lifted his gaze slowly, his eyes calm, steady. "Just having a drink." Viper smirked, elbowing his men. "You hear that? Just having a drink. Sounds like we got ourselves a real tough guy." The bikers laughed, their voices echoing through the bar, but Chuck didn't flinch. He didn't take the bait. He simply returned to his glass, sipping calmly. That silence, that refusal to react, only fueled Viper's pride. He stood, swaggering toward Chuck's table, his men following like a pack of wolves. The bar grew quiet, all eyes now on the confrontation unfolding. Viper slammed his hand on Chuck's table. "I don't like your face. Something about it annoys me. You think you're better than us. Sit in here all calm and collected." Chuck looked up again, his voice calm but firm. "I don't think anything about you. I'm just here to drink." It should have ended there. A wise man would have left it alone. But arrogance doesn't recognize wisdom. Arrogance sees calm as weakness, silence as submission. Viper leaned in closer, sneering. "You know what I do to guys who ignore me. I teach 'em respect." The room tensed. Chuck placed his glass down slowly, his hands still, his eyes never leaving Viper's. The air thickened, every patron holding their breath. Then, like a storm breaking through silence, Viper shoved Chuck back in his chair. The bikers erupted in laughter, their arrogance filling every corner of the room. But Chuck didn't stumble, didn't break. He simply straightened, his gaze steady as steel. "Don't," Chuck said quietly, his voice carrying more weight than a scream. But Viper wasn't listening. He grabbed Chuck's collar, ready to drag him from his seat, when suddenly the door swung open again. The bar went silent. Seagal stepped inside. Tall, imposing, his black coat flowing slightly as he walked. Steven's presence filled the room before he even spoke. His eyes scanned the scene instantly, taking in the bikers, Chuck at the table, and the tension thick in the air. He knew exactly what was happening. "Viper!" Steven's voice rang out, calm but commanding. The bikers froze, recognizing the name. recognizing the legend standing before them. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life." Viper turned, his hand still clutching Chuck's shirt. "And who the hell are you?" Stephen took a slow step forward, his presence heavy with controlled danger. "The man who's about to save you from something you won't walk away from. Let him go." For the first time, doubt flickered in Viper's eyes. He looked between Chuck and Stephen, realizing the weight of the moment. His men whispered nervously behind him, some already backing away. They knew those faces. They knew the stories. But pride is a dangerous poison, and Viper drank deep. "You think I'm scared of you too?" He spat, releasing Chuck only to square up, fists raised. "I'll take you both." The next moments unfolded faster than anyone could process. Chuck rose from his chair in one smooth motion, his body fluid, controlled. Viper swung at him wildly, but Chuck sidestepped with effortless precision, his hand snapping out, redirecting the strike and sending Viper crashing into the counter with a dull thud. Before the bikers could react, Stephen was among them. His hands moved like lightning, each motion precise, efficient, devastating. A wrist twisted here, a shoulder locked there, and one by one the bikers fell, groaning, clutching their arms, completely outmatched before they even realized what had happened. The bar erupted with gasps, glasses rattling as men twice Stephen's size were reduced to broken pride on the floor. Chuck moved with the grace of water, every strike measured, never more than necessary, every movement teaching the bikers a lesson they'd never forget. Within moments, the chaos was over. The bikers were on the ground, some holding broken egos, others nursing twisted wrists or aching ribs. Viper lay sprawled against the counter, his arrogance shattered, his breath ragged. Stephen stood over him, his voice low and final. "You want respect. You don't get it by bullying men half. Drunk in a bar, you get it by earning it. Remember that, if you're smart enough to remember anything at all." Chuck leaned down slightly, his eyes locking on Viper. "This was your warning. Next time, you won't get one." The bar remained silent, every patron stunned, their eyes wide as they processed what they'd just witnessed. Legends weren't supposed to be real. But here they were, ill, breathing, unstoppable. The bikers scrambled out, dragging Viper with them, their pride in tatters, their arrogance burned away. Chuck sat back down, calmly picking up his drink, as though nothing had happened. Stephen joined him, his face as calm as if the fight hadn't even happened. The bartender, still shaking, finally managed to whisper, "I don't think anyone's gonna mess with this place for a long time." Chuck gave a small smile. "Good, maybe they'll learn something." Stephen nodded, "Or maybe not, but either way, they'll think twice." And with that, the two men returned to their quiet conversation, the storm they had unleashed leaving scars on everyone who had witnessed it. Because that night, a lesson was carved into the air itself. Arrogance collapses before true strength. Respect isn't taken, it's earned. And legends like Chuck Norris and Seagal don't walk into a room to prove themselves. They walk into a room and the room itself is changed forever. This is Smiles and Scars. Until next time.